Let me give you a few details before we begin. We've got the Vodkalition, who are going to be the French fleet today. They're going to be the green ships on your screen when we get into the battle. We have the Bonapartnership. They are going to be the British. These are the yellow ships on your screen. To give a little context to start the conversation today, just taking a look at the leaderboard based off of wins and kind of putting the points aside, because the points tell a kind of different story. But the Bonapartnership right now are a third place. If this standings, and I believe it is is this up to date, Atticus, with these standings?
It is absolutely. They could go
right.
top.
Yeah, this is the Bonapartnership with 2 wins and only 1 loss. This is their day today to get to that top tier of 3 wins and 1 loss. That's the opportunity they have for themselves today. Vodkalition all the way on the bottom, 0 wins, 0 wins and 3 losses. Now, we won't talk about the points because they're both kind of in the negatives today, with the Bonapartnership being at negative 14,000 points and the Vodkalition being just under negative 40,000 points. So I mean, I think the basic outline of what today's stakes are is the Vodkalition have just got to win, and the Bonapartnership have got to win to crack into that top tier of teams in a very much come from behind kind of ascension that they have had here. So let me pass it over to you, Atticus. Tell me a little bit about how you're feeling about these 2 teams and what you think the stakes are for these guys today.
The stakes are pretty high for the Vodkalition.
Yeah.
First and foremost, they're the only team without a win now. But week after week, when they've played, we have seen them improve 100% on each and every appearance.
Yep.
That said, the Bonapartnership have a different pressure on them. Like you say, they are aiming for that top tier. They are aiming for the 3rd win. Only 2 other teams have won 3 out of their 4 matches this week. This season. This is their moment. This is their ability to say, hey, we're not to be taken lightly.
Yeah. And to get into the stats of this thing, we've been throwing a few mixed messages on the stream, and so I want to clear everything up for our viewers, okay? So if you go to theNSL.com and you check out the standings, you'll see that points are important, but points are only important in differentiating people who have the same win-loss record, right? So you'll notice that the Bonapartnership is above the SCP-38, even though the SCP-38 have a total point accumulation of positive 25,800. And the Bonapartnership have a point accumulation of negative 14,000. But that doesn't matter because the Bonapartnership have 2 wins and 1 loss, where the SCP-38s have 2 wins and 2 losses. That point difference only comes into play if they are tied in their amount. They have equal amounts of wins and losses, which is why the Bonapartnership has this very interesting opportunity, even though they have negative point difference in their battles with the other teams, that they will be able to crack that top tier. Whereas the Vodkalition, I mean, the Vodkalition can only move up to they can get to second to last place, I think, here. I don't think they can get any higher than that. So the Vodkalition don't really have too much higher to go. I don't know, do they have any more battles after this? Let's see. Do the Vodkalitions have any more after today? They do. They're the last match. So
Yes, they do.
actually,
Yeah.
they can get up. They can get up as high as to be in the tier of the Sea Wolves and the Royal Black Fleet, who are 2-2, 2 wins, 2 losses. So they could bring themselves up to the middle of the bracket of the preseason league. So that's the Vodkalition. That would have to be something that they start today. So Warble, tell us your analysis on these teams. I want you to be the first person to stick your neck out and tell us who you think is going to win today and why.
Well, going by the precedent set in this league so far, one would have to say the Bonapartnership. But as you have also said, and as we've also observed with some other teams over these past few weeks, where there were some upsets, remembering the Seawolves game, the last one, the Vodkalition have this steady upward trend in their games, where each loss has been closer and closer than the last one. It's a bit like with the SCP-38, where they have improved from game to game to game until beating the Seawolves 2 weeks ago. Although the Vodkalition, of course, is at basically a lower level, so they've still lost and lost and lost, but closer and closer. And the Bonapartnership, yeah, they've won twice, and once they got absolutely demolished by the Kraken team. So that's why they have negative points, right? Still.
Yeah. But those hard lessons really did forge them into what I think is a competitor. I think if we had a longer preseason, I think the Vodkalition would I think their climb starts now.
Probably it's a bit too late.
But I'm a little skeptical that they're going to be able to beat the Bonapartnership. I think the Bonapartnership is also at this moment where they're starting to really come into their own and become a great team in the league. Atticus, how do you feel about this? What's your prediction?
Well, as usual, I cannot agree with either of you. I am backing the Vodkalition to stop the rot, to turn it around, and to show that everything they've learned, everything that they've experienced in this preseason, this is the culmination of it. This is their moment.
Well, they do have one thing against them, though, again, you'll hear Atticus argue that it is actually for them, and that is the wind direction. So today's wind direction is going to be northeast. We'll explain that a little bit more to you, audience, as we get into the battle itself. But Atticus, strongman this argument for them, and tell us why having wind that is diagonally against the Vodkalition is a good thing for them.
Because essentially they can control the battle. It's a case of the Bonapartnership need to go to the Vodkalition. The Bonapartnership have what they need to go to the Vodkalition. How the Vodkalition use the win to their advantage is going to be key to their potential victory today.
Yeah,
they can. They can control. If they play it smart, they can control where the engagement takes place, in what fashion it takes place, and take advantage of the negative wind to turn it into a positive wind when they start engaging.
All right, when we get into the map, I'm going to want you to go into even more detail about that and try and make a real prediction about where you think these teams are going to go, because I think it's very interesting. We in the Leviathans can attest to the fact that when you have a good wind, the only thing that you want to do with it is charge the enemy. We've done that in 2 of our most recent battles against some very strong teams, and just using the speed that you can get from the wind to put yourself in a great setup position. That is so important, and it's such an overriding priority that we've actually sacrificed fleet formation to just increase that speed. Every ship just rushing into the wind to catch the opponent before they can even really get out of spawn. So I think the Bonapartnership are going to win. That's my prediction. I want the Vodkalition to win, but I think the Bonapartnership are going to take it away. They are being led, by the way, our admirals for today. Triangle is leading the Bonapartnership fleet. He's going to be their admiral. And we've got Loho Master, a mainstay commander for the Vodkalition. I think Loho, am I mistaken? Is Loho always kind of admiraling for them? Is he always their admiral?
To my knowledge, he has been. I think Piet's done one. Piet has done one. So Loho's their primary admiral, but they do share responsibility.
One of the things that I feel personally is that sticking to a single admiral gives that admiral the chance to really grow through the preseason. And the teams that are constantly shuffling admirals are the ones who are struggling to get a grasp on the metagame as it develops through this preseason. It's not going to kill them in the first season, I think. because I think all the teams are going to have a lot of time to look at what they did the preseason and learn their lessons one way or the other. But the teams that learn their lesson before the end of the preseason and the teams that are going to learn their lesson by next season in February, I think the difference there is the consistency of Admirals. And I wonder what you guys think about that.
I mean, it depends. No, sorry.
Go ahead, Werble.
Depends on how they train, really, I believe. I mean, I'm really not speaking from too much experience here because I am not a captain, as I tend to repeat at these occasions. But I think if they have, if they share their experiences with each other within these teams, it's not that detrimental if they swap out admirals from game to game or swap out captains or whatever it is. If they just communicate and analyze their results and their matches. We have these recordings here. Maybe they record themselves or whatever. They have post-match discussions. I think that you don't have to actually be the admiral to get to learn from a match. But of course, if you don't do that and basically just show up once a week, more or less, to play, then it's very important that it's always the same guy who actually gains the experience.
Atticus, you are an admiral yourself. You've admiral for one round in the NSL. What do you think?
It's an interesting proposition because I know most of these teams have rotated admirals at least once. I know that the Krakens, they've had at least 3 different admirals. So at least two.
Actually, you've admiral twice, haven't you, this season? You've done one or two? I think you've done 2.
I've done one.
Oh, okay.
It was against the Vodkalition, actually.
Oh. And they did a really great job in that amount, and that's why you're such a big fan of them, I think.
I liked what they did. They really put pressure on my fleet, and I saw some real promise in that. Some real promise.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, it looks like, just to let the audience know, it looks like we're getting into the battle. Atticus, go ahead and make your point, and then we'll start analyzing what we're seeing on the screen.
I was just going to say, I don't see a major downside to swapping admirals, but a bit of consistency does help.
I think it's the mistakes that they make, and like, if you make a mistake, I do truly believe that it's very difficult to pass that knowledge on to the next guy, because the feeling of making an error in a battle, and that sort of that shame it brings you, and how much that shame motivates you to change what you do for the next time, I don't know how transferable that is. And I feel admiraling is a very personal journey that you take throughout a season. And nobody's going to analyze you as critically as you analyze yourself. And that's why I feel like some of these guys who have been more consistently admirals, that's who we're seeing these leaps in skill from. Whereas I think some of the teams who pass it around, unless all those admirals they pass it around to are already kind of blooded in our events, like the X events that we host or something like that, a lot of times they just a guy's making a mistake, and then the next week another guy's making a different mistake, but there's no consistency in learning. I feel that way. I guess I leave it to you viewers to judge whether you agree with that or not. All right, let's get in here and start taking a look at our different teams.
All right. So the map today is Agates, which is one of these maps, which I think all of them basically have 2 different forms. One where the spawns are rotated by 90 degrees to the other. And here we have one side which is blocked with a bunch of small islands and then a line of 3 big islands along the middle. And the team that is spawning in all the islands is the British team. That's the Bonapartnership. They are basically upwind. They have the wind from diagonally behind them. And they have to navigate through all these islands to get into open waters, while the Vodkalition have open waters in front of them, but also the wind diagonally against them. So, and they have green ships, as they are the French team today.
Right. And so what Atticus was talking about is that you see of the overhead on the right side of the screen, which is the Vodkalition in their French green ships, is that they have a lot of space to make whatever decision that they want. So Atticus, take us through. You're the Vodkalition in the green ships on the right side of the screen for the viewer. Where do you go, and what do you want the enemy to do?
I start heading south-southwest. Straight away, I get my fleet lined up in whichever format I want, and I start heading south-southwest. This gives the Bonapartnership, the enemy fleet, two options. They can move northwest to intercept, at which point they sacrifice a bit of that speed advantage, wind advantage they have,
Right.
or they go northeast. In which case, by the time they get to the end of their wind advantage,
Mm-hmm.
they're not in range to engage. At that point, a nice turn to port from the Vodkalition gives
Puts
them
them at like
wind.
even wind at that point, basically.
It gives them even wind and even the ability to use full wind,
Yeah.
depending on the enemy fleet's position.
Yeah.
But either way,
And
if I
they would. Sorry, go ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I'd just say that at that point, then the Vodkalition would be in the islands also, and could use that to disengage or engage.
If I was the Vodkalition, I wouldn't even and I wouldn't even think to enter the islands. I wouldn't be interested in entering the
So
islands.
you
In
would
this.
completely
what
maneuver
we're
just in the
seeing-
open half. Yeah?
What we're seeing right away is that the Bonapartnership is heading to the northwest. So basically, their northeast is where they have the wind. So if they took out of spawned a right turn and went towards the bottom of the screen on the overhead, you would see them being able to pick up really fast wind. But most teams these days don't go for the easy win. They try to bank it. And when we talk about bank it, they mean save the moment where they get to turn and catch that good wind for when they're much closer to the enemy. So I think you can see that the Bonapartnership, the yellow ships on the left side of the screen on the overhead, are basically doing the right thing. And I think you can also see that the Vodkalition is kind of thinking in the same way. The only problem for the Vodkalition is if they go that way, it is as slow as they could possibly go. The wind is going northeast, so it's going from the top left of the screen down to the bottom right of the screen on that overhead. And so it is pushing directly against the Vodkalition, whereas the Bonapartnership are going to get there faster. Even though they're not going to get, it's not going to be great. It's not going to be super fast for them. They are going to get there much faster because they have less wind directly against them than the Vodkalition does. So this is going to be an early advantage to the Bonapartnership, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, they're not in range yet by far.
They're not. They're
It
not.
doesn't really matter how quick the maneuvering is, as long as they are in a good formation and broadside onto the enemy once the range closes, right?
That's absolutely true. We have to see how these develop as they get to within the range, which is going to be in the next 30-ish, 40 seconds.
I hope they
think
just don't sail into the wall again.
No, that would be tragic. And I think they're banking the wind so that they don't have to do that. I think both of them are looking to turn east, right? I think that's where they're both looking to turn
parallel to that middle line. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
So both teams have, by the way, taken out 2 gunboats.
Okay, 2 gunboats. Great, 2 gunboats.
Yeah. And both teams have some very strong mercenaries today as well. There's a lot of sign-ups from the Kraken, the Leviathan, and the Seawolves teams, which are generally considered to have very good sailors.
Yeah, they do. All 3 of those teams are really, really strong. All right, so another thing to note is let's take a look at the positioning of the 13 guns. So critical in some of the previous battles that we've been watching. They have the 13 guns second from the front of their fleet. What you can see from the Bonapartnership in the yellow ships on the left side of the overhead there is that they have offset their 13 gun. That was a critical play in some of the recent battles that we've had. I know the Seawolves had a tough time in one of the recent battles because they were not able to offset that 13 gun, and that was something we commented on. Or the SCP was, and we talked about that ad nauseum during that battle. It doesn't look like the Vodkalition is as concerned about that 13 gun fleet placement.
They are just in a line, basically. 13 gun is, it looks like almost being overhauled currently by one of the 8 guns.
And it is going to, because the 8 guns go faster against the wind than the 13 gun does. It's very, very slow against the wind. And so you're going to see that the Bonapartnership are doing a really great job screening their 13 gun with those 8 guns, because they know the battle's going to start with the 8 guns.
Although they're not yet in range, so we'll see how it develops. Maybe if the Vodkalition actually turns around before they are in range and present their starboard side in the cannon duel, then the 13 gun would be further set back.
If they maintain this formation. If they maintain this formation, you're right. Atticus, what are your perspective here? What are you thinking?
What I'm thinking is, where does the engagement happen? What do the Bonapartnership have a major decision to make coming up? What do they do when they reach the end of this island chain? Do they go out into open waters? Do they use the islands for cover? It looks at the current rate, like they're going to go straight through that gap. However, the front 8 seems to be turning ever so slightly to
I'd
come
go
through
through
the
the yeah.
gap between the larger islands.
I would do that. I would go through the gap through the larger islands, slice in. They have full northeast wind. They could charge the Vodkalition right now, and I don't know if the Vodkalition would be able to adapt fast enough because of their dead against the wind positioning.
The Vodkalition to deal with what it looks like may happen if they come through that gap between the large islands. The Vodkalition needs to hard to port and put their starboards in. They can theoretically, depending on range, blockade them at this point, and it looks like the Bonapartnership have decided
Yeah,
to
they're
go
going through.
straight through
Yeah,
the.
they're going.
Yeah, they're
right.
going all the way to the end of the Long Islands. I think what they're judging here is that they can get there and they can basically cut off the Vodkalition without having to do anything really. And we've seen that the Vodkalition can fall for this before. It's not something that's never happened to them. I don't know. I think this is a big gamble for the Bonapartnership, to be honest with you. I know it looks like they're in a really commanding position right here. I don't know that they are as much as they think they are, because if the Vodkalition just does anything in response to this, like if the Vodkalition starts turning off to starboard right now and just gets their guns in rotation, they're going to hit each of these Bonapartnerships as it comes around that Long Island, and that's that. I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked. I mean, it doesn't look like the Vodkalition are doing anything though.
Yeah,
They're just sailing straight at
both
them.
teams are not really doing anything, though the Bonapartnership gunboats have turned to the middle of the map, basically, while the Vodkalition gunboats are staying with the fleet.
What is the Vodkalition doing? You have to react in some way.
I think they're still trying to get their fleet line
Well,
into
it's
an
too
order that
late.
they want. Oh yeah, absolutely, it's too late.
You got to start turning into battle formation at this point. Whatever you've got.
Yeah, they got to turn at some.
We've got it. We've got it. Here
It's
we
happening.
go.
They're turning port.
They're turning port, and they're doing a bad job of it. They're turning at the same time. They're gonna block each other. The front 2 8 guns.
It probably won't cost them the game because of the
Yeah.
distance between these two fleets, but it's ugly. It's ugly.
It is ugly.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? At least we can say, folks, is that we're not going to have another battle against the wall. Thank God.
Yeah. So I just wanted, before the shooting really starts, wanted to mention when I said about mercs, right? So the Bonapartnership have put Vex, one of their own, at on the carronade position, while the Vodkalition have opted to put a mercenary at their carronade.
Would that be
namely
Shum by any chance?
Yeah, it would.
Yeah, it's a good call.
That's a very good call.
All right. It looks like they're out of range of each other, these 8 guns. So the Vodkalition gets to breathe a sigh of relief here that they're not going to really get caught too bad, despite the fact that this is a messy fleet formation here. And I don't think it's unexpected to any of you guys, and tell me if I'm wrong here, that the Bonapartnership are going to be the more coordinated fleet that we're going to see today. The Vodkalition are a strong fleet, but they never have seemed to get it all together when it comes to fleet.
No, I mean it's kind of the curse of the composite teams, right? They're made up of 2 regiments.
Yeah,
15 PP and ESC, and I don't know if they have. Do they have a language barrier? Even I'm not sure.
Yes,
it's a Russian and Polish regiments.
Yeah, so they do have a language barrier there, and it can be a bit messy. But they have restored a line.
No, I mean the line is going to be okay by the time they get into battle. What I'm hoping is that we don't have another repeat of last week where these guys are a little bit too worried about engaging each other. I understand the Vodkalition need a win here, so which means they cannot stumble into a loss. We're going to expect some of the more passive play here, but the Bonapartnership are in position to really, really screw them here. Because all they need to do is a hard starboard turn, and they are going to get racing behind this Vodkalition fleet. So what the Vodkalition fleet needs to do is not only turn port and form a line against the enemy, they have to keep turning left and actually circle around their entire fleet and just completely swing around. Because otherwise, the Bonapartnership's going to be able to cut behind them with incredible speed.
Now is the time to do it while the Rangers aren't exactly set as well. They need to flip that fleet now. They will get matching wind to the Bonapartnership. It will negate the Bonapartnership's current advantage, but it doesn't look like they're doing it. It does not look like
they're going into the islands. They're going into the islands, and maybe that's not the worst idea in the whole world.
They could make a lot worse decisions here than head into those islands, because what they'll do now is they'll go into the islands, and it'll be on the Bonapartnership to come at them in the islands again.
But the rear of their fleet is going to take some punishment for this maneuver. No question.
Oh yes,
no question. They just don't have good enough wind, and they don't seem to be moving too fast as a fleet.
Yeah. So we can see though that the Vodkalition is targeting the Bonapartnership's 13 gun with basically everything that's in range. The 2 rear 8 guns and the 13 gun at the very least are all shooting the 13 gun, while the Bonapartnership seems to be shooting at 8 guns quite a bit.
Yeah, they're all over the place, the Bonapartnership, to be honest. But again, what are they doing? Right now, Triangle is just saying, charge, 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 charge the back of their fleet, charge the back of their fleet. It's going to put their 13 gun out of range. Like now, the Vodkalition 13 gun does not have rotation on the Bonapartnership 13 gun. Big problem for them because they're still going to be getting hit by that 13 gun. So the Vodkalition have put themselves in a bit of a pickle here because they have a very predictable path that they have to go through now. There is only one way they're going. Oh, and they're breaking from it. They're breaking from it. So we've got 1.5 ships that look like they're going through that gap of the pill-shaped islands, and now the Vodkalition 13 gun is panicking. We are having a bit of a morale break here amongst the Vodkalicians, and this does not bode well for them in any way.
They're turning in 3 directions.
They're all over the place. They're all over the place.
That 1-8 gun is breaking off into the move that was suggested like 2 minutes ago, while everything else is goodness.
This is bad.
The Vodkalition gunboats have turned away. They were in a position to fire at the oncoming Bonapartnership fleet, but I mean, yeah, and to grudge it, they are very fragile.
The major issue here is that the 13 gun is not escaping. Instead, the 13 gun is going to put itself in rotation and range of every single Bonapartnership ship.
Yeah, I mean,
look at these 2 8 guns off to the south for the Vodkalition. What are they doing? Nothing. They're doing nothing.
I mean, there's gunboats over there, I believe.
I guess, yes. You can see there are gunboats over there. Not really what you want to be concerned with right now. You want to be concerned with the fact that the Vodkalition flagship is very vulnerable, and we have to see if the Bonapartnership is going to press that advantage or not. It hasn't taken a tremendous amount of damage yet, which is like a crazy mercy, but it is going to be completely isolated. There is no other ship that is going with it right now. None. It is going completely alone. I am shocked.
I mean, so far, Shum has twice as many points as anyone else on either team on that carronade. So that's
he is putting work in. He is definitely putting work in.
He's only 1 gun, so so I'm just taking a close look here at the Vodkalition flagship. They have 3 of their 6 broadside guns, it looks like, crewed by Leviathan mercenaries, actually. And the 4th one was, I believe, also, but it has been destroyed, so they've lost 1 broadside gun on starboard already. Oh, and the Vodkalition flagship has lost the carronade, so Shum no longer.
Well, that's a huge problem. I'm shocked that the Vodkalition did not focus more on that 13 gun. The Bonapartnership did not focus on the Vodkalition's 13 gun, and that is crazy to me because they had it dead to rights.
I was watching as it went by, and there was excuse me, I'm falling over my words now. There was no dedicated fire. There was no concentrated fire.
No,
the firing was a bit all over the place. They were firing at 3 different ships at once.
They don't seem to care quite as much about the flagship. Now, the Vodkalition flagship is very much out of the battle for the next few minutes. But
I mean, it is upwind.
I mean, yeah, it's going to have good wind, but it's got to have to chase both of its own fleet and the enemy fleet. So the Bonapartnership do have this interesting situation where they have all 5 of their capital ships fighting like 1 to 2 of the 8 guns on the Vodkalition team. So they're certainly going to edge out an advantage here in the early game, but they did not take out the flagship of the Vodkalition when it gave itself up to them on a silver platter, and so I do see that as an opportunity missed. I think if it was us, we probably would have stopped the fleet and just railed on that 13 gun, and I'm not seeing that here from them, but they are certainly going to do some serious damage to one of the 8 guns. I think, though, that the Vodkalition is in a very interesting position to completely surround the Bonapartnership's fleet.
Yeah, maybe
it's their 13 gun behind.
Partnership to panic, because at the moment it's a race to the wall, right?
Right. So once they get to the wall, the Vodkalition have 3 ships on a broadside battle, and they have 2 ships coming in from behind. That's not a bad place to be. You want enemy ships behind the enemy fleet when you hit a wall. I am a little worried for the Bonapartnership here, actually. What a turnaround here, and such an interesting development.
Vodkalition have definitely taken more damage. They've lost 2 gunboats, while the Bonapartnership has only lost 1 so far.
Yeah.
And they have taken quite a bit of damage to one of their 8 guns. I believe it's the lead ship, probably, of their 3-ship line there.
Yeah, and they probably got to pull that guy out a little bit. He's got to get away, but I don't know that he's ever going to be able to get away from the 13 gun. But even still, not more than half.
Yeah, but they haven't done really any damage in
No, they
return.
haven't done anything to make up for that. They have not. But yeah, I don't think this is a death stroke against the Vodkalition at all.
That's their 4th 8 gun in the lead there with the Holy Regent Twilight Sparkle.
And he's getting out of there. He's getting out of there. He knows he needs to. I don't know.
They all are, I believe.
No, I'm not entirely sure that the 2nd and 3rd of that line aren't going to stick it out. Because if they stick it out and if they pin the Bonapartnership fleet to that wall, and they don't give them Bonapartnership a chance to turn to the right, then the Vodkalition 13 gun is going to be behind their fleet.
Oh yeah,
and that is very dangerous.
That takes some courage though, to stick your 8 gun into their whole line at close-ish range against the wall.
It's a huge sacrifice that I don't know if it's going to pay off. We can already see that some of those ships are going down in ship HP. It is heroic.
That's Saboteur, by the way, the new lead in that now 2-ship line, nose against the wall. And they are focusing on that 13 gun, definitely, although it hasn't taken that much damage. And they are getting chewed up. Like they're
look at that 13 turning in. Not what I would have advised. I honestly still think, even with the 13 gun behind them, that the Bonapartnership should not have turned his 13 gun in. It's going to take some serious damage here, and it really doesn't want that. And now that 8 gun that had been damaged earlier by the 13 gun has positioned itself to also. So we got 3 8 guns blasting the 13 gun on incoming fire. I don't like this for the Bonapartnership.
Coming in.
I will tell you what I'm experiencing right now, guys. I'm experiencing flashbacks. This is how I lost my flagship when I admiraled against the Vodkalition. The Vodkalition have done exactly what they did to me. They pinned us up against a wall and gave us nowhere to go but to turn into them.
Yeah,
it's absolute. Look at this firepower now. Look at the 4 ships firing on them, and what you've got behind is the 13 gun, the flagship of the Vodkalition.
Vodkalition 13 gun kicks a starboard side turn right now, and it is dead in front of that 13 gun.
He should have done it a while ago, but he needs to do it now. I think
there goes a mast.
Starboard. Oh, and a mast gun as well. The Bonapartnership are in all kinds of trouble now.
They haven't lost a ton of ship HP, but position-wise, they have totally lost the plot here.
Yeah.
And this is what the Vodkalition do. They have some ugly battles. They like it ugly. They like to get in there. They like to lose a lot of ship HP, and then they like to challenge the enemy, saying, "I'm going to put a ship directly in front of you. What are you going to do about it? Or can you maintain your composure when I'm right here next to you?"
Yeah.
And
the Bonapartnership flagship has only 1 broadside gun left on its starboard side.
Oh my god!
So that's why they need to turn all the way around, because they don't have guns on the other side. So they don't have any guns to face the Vodkalition 13 gun now.
This is awesome. I mean, this is really, really incredible. The Bonapartnership's 13 gun almost down to half HP. Vodkalition's is fresh and firing right now. Boom! Oh, huge hits on the Vodkalition's. From the Vodkalition to the Bonapartnership's flagship. I think this flagship is going down in the next few minutes. It is flanked on both sides by ships, and it is taking an absolute pounding with very little ability to respond. Once that flagship goes down, then we have to see what they can do. But oh my god, this is incredible.
Captain Siren's here really in a bad spot. He's lost the last of his cannons on starboard, and he has 5 cannons left on port. Carronade is also down there.
So he's got nothing to respond to the Vodkalition flagship with.
Oh my god,
and that is huge.
Perfect for the Vodkalition right now. Unbelievable.
Yeah, Vodkalition have also taken out the rocket boat. That is also hitting the flagship of the Bonapartnership there.
They're surrounded, and they're getting completely, they're getting messed around. There is 1 8 gun that I would love to see turn in and fire at that damn 13 gun from the Vodkalition, that lead far out 8 gun. But even still, the Vodkalition 13 gun is going to absolutely take out the Bonapartnership flagship and have a whopping amount of ship HP left afterwards.
Yeah.
And then we are going to see something with 12 minutes left, with maybe 11, 10 minutes left. We're going to see something really amazing happen, I think, from that point on.
By the way, interesting thing again. Don't think we have talked about that much yet, but the Vodkalition were a bit short-staffed, right, today. So they've put, for example, that rocket boat that's currently hammering the Bonapartnership's 13 gun is completely crewed by mercenaries.
Well, those are some good mercenaries, man. They really got in there. I cannot believe how close they are unanswered.
It's Spicy Paper and Paxis and one third mercenary who just died. They all just died because they got boarded.
Well, they did. They just get rammed by a.
Yeah.
So look at the 8 guns getting behind the 13 gun, trying to shield it from the Vodkalition's flagship. It's not going to work. It's very interesting, but it's not going to work. Oh, and this is it. We are seeing the last moments of the Bonapartnership flagship is going to go down any second, and from there on out, it is truly anybody's game. They are going to have exchanged a flagship for an 8 gun because there is an 8 gun that's going to go down the Vodkalition side, but. What a turnaround. What a turnabout. Absolutely amazing. Such incredible.
Yeah.
Again, I call it ugly, but it was beautiful how these Vodkalition ships got in, got close, lured the Bonapartnership into a situation where they thought they had more ships. They thought it was their whole fleet versus 3 ships, and then bam, they got in there and they just mix it up with them.
There it goes.
There it goes.
Okay, so now we've got to see, because except for the flagship, the Vodkalition ships are real beat up, but it's not that different. All 4 of these 8 guns are running after one Vodkalition 8 gun that is not really a very important target right now. These guys have to turn their 8 guns and sink the enemy 13 gun, or else they're screwed.
I don't think one of these 8 guns is going to survive this engagement. The guy who's running straight away, he's got the 13 gun, he's got 2 8s, and he's got a gunboat behind him. He's in all kinds of pain at the minute.
This is. I honestly have no idea who's going to win this, but right now I'm kind of favoring the Vodkalition. That 13 gun has so much ship HP right now. So much HP. I think it could probably take on half of these 8 guns by itself and still come out with a win.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. But they are about to lose another 8 gun. This is a finely poised match now. You talk about HP pools. Woo! I think the Vodkalition are just ahead on HP pool. Just by sheer wonder of the 13 gun having so much health.
So much health
at this point in the match.
Basically untouched.
Yeah. And this running Vodkalition solo 8 gun over here is, by the way, being captained by Holy Region Twilight Sparkle once again. So that's the one that turned out before the wall, which is about to go down, I think, at the other end of the map here. And although at the moment they're really just in a 1v1 duel, and both sides are hitting their shots, so they are. I don't know. I think the opposing Bonapartnership ship here though has
this flagship needs to really get into this battle though. It cannot get separated from its other 8 guns, or else those other 8 guns can be picked off. I'm a little worried that the Vodkalition flagship is getting too interested in this 8 gun that it's hitting.
I don't understand why he hasn't started turning to starboard.
I don't either.
We know which way the wind's blowing. Oh, a turn to starboard would favor him wind-wise. It would allow him to go after the enemy fleet and get closer to this ship that he really wants to sink.
Is he turning really left? Confused. What the hell is he doing?
I'm really confused at this point.
Maybe there's a gun, a rowboat or something that he's concerned with, but like, just take the boarding action.
Yeah, they are. I don't know what's happening here.
He is now starting to turn to starboard, but that's about 5 minutes too late.
Yeah, this is not good. His fleet is. There are only 3 ships in the Vodkalition's fleet right now. Now, don't get me wrong. There's really only like 2 full 8 guns on the Bonapartes and one that is barely still up and one that is below half. So we're still looking at a very even battle, which I would agree with you, Atticus, is favoring the Vodkalition in the HP pool. But these ships need to stay together. They cannot split up like this. These two Vodkalition 8 guns firing at, if they get into a full battle with these 4 Bonapartnership 8 guns, they're going to lose, and then that 13 gun is going to have a tremendous amount of work that it's going to have to do. Can it do it? Yes. Should they be this far away from each other on the Vodkalition team? Absolutely not. This is not good for them, but it keeps this battle very interesting. I'll say that.
Yeah. I mean, at the moment, really, most of them aren't in range of anything.
No, I think the Bonapartnership are working on just getting their fleet together right now.
Yeah, because they were all chasing Regent's lone 8 gun, right? And they caught it, but now they are just, I don't know.
One of these
There's
Bonapartnerships
going on. There's boat action. There's all kinds of little distractions, basically.
One of these Bonapartnerships are very low. I would love to know which one it is.
Yeah.
The Bonapartnership 8 guns need to stop right now. They need to stop.
They need to turn and start firing at these Vodkalition 8 guns. The Bonapartnerships. They need to start hitting.
No,
They're not doing any damage.
The Vodkalition need to stop. Their 8 guns need to stop. Their T's being crossed ahead of them. There's no range at the minute, but that range isn't going to be far off, and they're very isolated from their capital ship. I know they want to sink this rear 8 gun, and they're wondering why it's still up, but they've got a gunboat right behind it that can do the job for them and should do it any second. They need to reform that fleet. It's critical at this point. That 8 gun's going to go down, and once that 8 gun goes down, they are in the winning position. The onus is back on the Bonapartnership.
Yeah. They have they have their own rocket boat in front of them.
Look at this! Look at this! They're falling right into a trap here. This is horrible to watch.
No, wait, the Bonapartnership is turning out though. That one that was in a T position.
It is, but the rest are turning in now.
Yeah, that's strange.
It's I don't know.
They're going to go for the rearmost ship. They've been focusing on the rearmost ship.
It's gone.
Okay, so now, I mean, it's okay. They're in a good place. They're not in a bad place. They got good ship HP. They're at higher range. I think they want to reconnect with their flagship and go for the back of the Bonapartnership's line, which I think is probably a good move. But yeah, I think they really needed to get together with that flagship a long time ago. Really, that flagship needed to get together with them, actually. I'm not blaming these 8 gunners. That flagship captain is way out of place.
He is, but he's made the mistake now, and the 8 guns weren't in any danger. They are now.
Why are they're splitting up?
They're splitting up.
Well, they've split up before this match, and it worked for them, so I don't know.
Yeah, but that was when they were right next to the enemy, and they had the ability to pressure them really strongly. At this point, they're just allowing the enemy to divide them up and maybe claw a way back to victory here. Again, 4 minutes left. I don't see it, but...
Well, they only need one of their ships sunk to lose.
Yep.
Yeah, they do, right? Because right now, they win. Right now they've got the capital ship. It's not going anywhere.
Maybe they're just trying to run.
And the capital ship is just sitting there. What are you doing? This is not a way to catapult yourself up the ranks of the victors. The Vodkalition need to.
What are they shooting at? They are shooting at their own ship.
Oh my God!
Vodkalition capital ship is engaging their own 8 gun.
No way.
Has Captain Piet? Is it Piet? Yeah, it's Asperov.
Has he lost his mind?
Yeah. Are they like boarded or some shit? No. Sorry.
I don't think so.
No, it's Piet and his crew engaging. No, now okay, they've stopped, I believe.
I think I'm going to end up being a little disappointed by this anticlimactic finish to this battle because with 3 minutes and 44 seconds left, I thought that this was going to be a Vodkalition stomp, and it had every right and ability to be, and it should have been. And I think I'm a little critical. I think the flagship is stopping to stop a gunboat. This gunboat that's approaching them. Guys, gunboats are not that important. Go sink some capital ships.
That's their own rocket.
That's their own rocket boat.
So what are they shooting at? What the heck are they stopping for?
I think they are sitting there because they know that in 3 minutes they can't be sunk.
You could take that cynical view. I think they're doing what they should have done about 8 minutes ago, and that's
bringing their 8 guns back.
Fleet. Yeah. Saboteur on the 8 gun closest to the Bonapartnership is now running along the side, which is all he really can do. If he sinks, the Bonapartnership win, and the Bonapartnership know that they are moving into attack formation
Get him.
rather
Get
rapidly.
him. Forget about everything else. Get him.
All their gunboats are converging on him, and I just want to check how many guns he has on his starboard side. He has no guns on his starboard side. He
Oh, so
cannot
he's... Oh god.
So
He
can
can-
anybody tell? Can anybody figure out why the heck he was so close to the enemy? If he had no guns on one side of his ship, that's perplexing.
Well,
and-
because he had the guns on the other side, that one which he was presenting to the enemy.
Yeah,
but
we-
again,
That's why he was
and,
there and didn't turn.
your
because he
ship
couldn't
is
shoot him.
half. Then he's got to be the guy who's halfway down in ship HP.
Yeah.
He's got probably the weakest link of their fleet, and he's the closest. And he's turning. I mean, this is not.
This is a bit nail biting. I for suspense, I like this. I don't think it's gonna be detrimental now. He's gotten too much distance, and the 13 gun
Yeah,
is
13 gun is
now
closing
starting to
now.
move, but he's just dropped sails again. I don't know. Does
He's
this
got, I think
13
he's
gun?
got range. I think he's got range on the lead 8 gun at this point. If he turns his port sides in, I think he's got range.
Here we go. Let's follow these shots.
No.
No,
No.
no.
But he's
That's
gonna
still
have it
200
in
meters
10
out.
seconds. It's just 10
Yes,
seconds
yes.
is an eternity when you have 1 minute and 38 seconds left.
Yeah, and there's a bunch
this
of like
is-
boat action going on there.
Yeah, this is going to be all boat action because I think there's nothing else that's going to happen in this
Yeah,
battle.
it's boarding. I think no, didn't manage to board.
No,
No, just jumped into the water and left the boat. All right. Yeah, no, no one is actually hitting anything pretty much, right? Okay, so Vodkalition have 2 ships in blocking there.
Well, with 1 minute
Now
left, let's
they're
see
in
what the
range.
heck they could do. I'm surprised that the Bonapartnership is letting this ship drift into the range of the capital ship. I don't know what that's
Explosion.
about, but I think it's probably one of their very, very healthy ships. And they must be thinking something on the Vodkalition's team has got to be at low strength. But
Yeah, it's the one they were chasing. But now
Yeah,
they're
it
going
unfortunately is.
broadside to with a 13 gun. They're not gonna win that.
again, 40 seconds left. If you have a
I'm-
full 8 gun, I wouldn't be too worried.
If I recall, oh no, this is their heavily armed broadside. It's the
Yeah.
starboard side that they've lost so many guns on.
All right. Yeah, it's Mika in the lead there for the Bonapartnership. They are now in range.
Yeah, see,
of
they're
the
going for the
8
8
there,
gun.
but-
They know they got to go for an 8 gun. An
Yeah,
8
but
gun's
it's
the
the
only
wrong
thing
8
that's going to
gun.
win them. Again, and also 10 seconds left?
Yeah, there's nothing gonna sink here in 10 seconds.
No.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So I think
Vodkalition.
Vodkalition-
win.
Vodkalition victory, very interesting mid game and very disappointing late game. I think that the Vodkalition have now discovered how to disrupt enemy fleets, and I do not think that they have yet discovered what to do once they have. And I think
Yeah,
that is
that's
the
actually
issue
Fewer
that
points.
I mean, yeah, this is look at this. This is
They've won
could have
by
been-
yeah.
a Vodkalition obliteration of the Bonapartnership. Once that 13 went down, the Vodkalition 13 gun had the opportunity to absolutely obliterate everything. It could have chased, it could have reformed, it could have made a situation. I think again. I mean, I'm frustrated not because the Vodkalition did a bad job, but because they could have done so much better of a job with the victory here. I'm shocked that the Bonapartnership ended up falling into a trap like this. And it's fascinating what the Vodkalition are able to do with their positioning. And obviously, hats off to the Vodkalition because they did need a victory. This does propel them into a situation where they could find themselves in the middle of the stat board by the end of the preseason with 1 battle left. If they pull off something like that and they stick it at the ending, I think that we could really have something, a real comeback on our hands. But I also just, again,
Yeah.
I can't express my
I mean,
disappointment at the end of that game.
That was a win with minus 1,600 points.
Wait, they won and they had fewer points?
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, because they got all their boats sunk, basically.
Right,
Yeah.
the boats can really swing the points.
Yeah.
And they did. That's so funny.
So yeah, that's well, I mean, we won with even fewer points, but all right. We lost with even fewer. No, yeah. Anyway, we lost with plus points. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in our battle that we lost, I mean, we
Yeah, it was
won
due
the
to
battle and then we got
rules, yeah.
disqualified. So it's a different circumstance here. I've never seen a team actually win the battle but lose the points. That's funny. But yeah, it goes to show how, the gunboat metagame is so interesting because it doesn't necessarily impact the flagships as much as it impacts the point differences. So they're just point getters. And that is very interesting.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, all I will say is you may pass my winnings to me later on this evening.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
backed
We all
Vodkalition,
have.
and those boys brought it home for me.
They sure did. I mean, can you talk? The thing to talk about is that middle moment, right? That middle section when the Vodkalition closed and basically charged. They hit the wall. They had the 13 gun behind. They had that like sort of 3-8 gun that turned into a 2-8 gun broadside, and they parlayed that into a wild charge into the Bonapartnership that I think just shocked the Bonapartnership and had them basically just fleeing for the rest of the battle. Once that flagship went down, it was basically a full flight from the Bonapartnership, which in the end cost them because a shorter flight into a reformation and an offensive maybe could have knocked down one of the 8 guns and put them ahead at the end of things. But I get it. I mean, I get why they fled once their 13 gun went down. But in the end, it was very close.
What they did to the 13 to the Bonapartnership's 13 gun is the same thing they did to us. They cornered it and they focused it. They focused it really, really well, and it took so much damage while trying to turn around.
Yeah,
But they had to turn because they didn't have any guns left.
No,
yeah.
I'm not criticizing the turn. It was a have to situation.
No, did they have to? Could they not have turned left? Could they not have turned port?
Would you have would you have turned your rear to 4 ships?
I wouldn't have turned my front towards them. That's for sure. You turn your rear towards them, and you get hit a little bit in the rear, but then you get out. You turn your front towards them, you get the front of yourself hit, and then you're deep into their range. And
the fact that they had to turn at all is a credit to the Vodkalition. The
100%.
Vodkalition forced them into that move.
When the Vodkalition, so that front 8 gun from the Vodkalition, it kind of peeled out because that was the one that had taken the most damage. That had been their target, the Bonapartnership's target, as they were getting towards the wall. When they pulled that out, he not only pulled out, but he swung around so that when the Bonapartnership flagship turned, he was still in range of it. So they still had 3 ships on that Bonapartnership flagship, and that was where so much of that damage came in. Not to mention, the Vodkalition flagship pulled up behind him, and we had talked about how dangerous it was that they had let that guy get behind without hitting him too much.
Yeah, I mean, but that was a huge risk for the Vodkalition.
Huge risk
for Piat to take his 13 gun, because if the Bonapartnership had focused a bit more after that first turn, after they first met, the flagship was alone, right? They were alone, stuck upwind, and they had the whole Bonapartnership could have just stayed there and focused the 13 gun. Instead,
it was in range. It was in range of every ship
with the 8 guns, and let it get behind them. I mean, that's really, incredible. I believe that's the point where the Bonapartnership messed up, was let that 13 gun get away after it had isolated itself after panicking.
Yeah.
Because basically, or at least it looked like they panicked. Maybe it was all planned.
No, come on. When the Bonapartnership started catching the wind and going around the back of the Vodkalition were all over the place. That response to that was a total mess, and it really was an opportunity for the Bonapartnership to just hunker down, put a lot of damage into the flagship or anything else. And I just don't know that they chose to put it mostly into an 8 gun, and they didn't even sink that 8 gun. So the Vodkalition gave them some opportunities here. Vodkalition gave them a bunch of opportunities.
Maybe it was all a feint. Maybe it was.
I mean, maybe it was, but if it was a feint, I mean, we were all fooled.
Right?
We were all fooled. So yeah, let's get into this. We have our admirals here. We have first our Triangle and ESC Loho. Triangle from the Bonapartnership. He was their admiral, and Loho from the Vodkalition. Let's start with Triangle. Triangle, very sorry for your loss here. I think as you heard us talking, we felt that there were a few opportunities that you guys had where the Vodkalition in the early to mid game, where the Vodkalition guys were giving you some opportunities, but you kept your fleet very strong, structured, and coordinated right up to the point where you got to the wall. Tell us what you were thinking when you were coming into this battle, and by that middle section, what happened and how did this go so wrong?
Well, hello. Yeah, so like you were saying, I think early game we did really well, right? Like we managed to almost curve around them and
Mm-hmm.
almost like, mess
Yeah,
up
you
their
had the back of them.
structure. Yeah, like they just sort of turned in on themselves and like sort of, went all about. So at that point, we're feeling pretty well. We're feeling pretty good with that. At that point, we just wanted to focus down one ship as much as possible. Obviously, with rotation, you can only do so much. And then we started going towards the wall, and I think when we got to the wall, that was where problems arose. We turned in on ourselves. Our 13 gun went down, although it became a floating tank at that point. But still, we had to we had to scuttle off and regroup um, away from the Vodkalition. We did end up taking down one of their 8 guns while we were regrouping, but I think ultimately we just took too long in the regroup. Like if we would have been quicker, we would have been able to turn around and take the fight back to them. And I think that's the biggest part. We took too long regrouping to get back into the fight.
Like towards the very end of the battle?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And now I think we noticed that there were like some sides of your ships that like didn't have cannons. So like there was, I think, was that them or was that the Vodkalition guys that we saw? Or maybe it was the Vodkalition guys that actually had some ships that
On
had
the
lost
8 gun,
whole.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
That was
So
possible.
but all right, so tell us what was your reaction when so your 13 gun turns in, you can immediately see that it's taking a tremendous amount of damage. That
Yep.
turn is going to be hard for you guys. And then they start coming in and they get to like, I mean, they put a 8 gun almost directly next to you, almost to the ramming position of hitting you guys.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
were your thoughts then? How were you reacting? What were your feelings? What was the fleet feeling at that moment?
Well, at that moment, we mostly just so when the 13 gun lost its mass, we kind of just said, look, okay, look, there's our sacrificial lamb for this. Let's take down an 8 gun if we can with it.
Hmm.
When we saw them charging towards us, we were like, okay, this is a classic Vodkalition tactic that I've
It
seen.
is. It really is becoming classic, isn't it?
So at that point, we wanted to go away, regroup, try and draw ideally an 8 gun out of that little wall group that they had going,
Hmm.
and then also go after the 8 gun that was sailing off on its own as well.
Right.
But yeah, my thoughts were when I saw that, I was like, okay, let's just stay calm. I'd rather turn in than turn away from them and have our backs against them. So we're just going to turn in. We'll have to go around this 13 gun because, at that point it's just stuck there.
Yeah.
But let's just try and take out as many cannons as we can as we're going past. That was my main goal when we were turning and going out.
Hmm. Yeah. Another thing I really want to shout out for you guys is a very interesting ending, um, which is that you guys lost with more points. So you had more points than the Vodkalition, and that's I think mostly thanks to gunboats. You guys actually dominated the gunboat game. It seemed that your gunboats were winning a lot of the combat between them. So shout out to your gunboat crews. I don't know how much information you have on the intricacies because gunboating is a lot less commanding them and a lot more just like asking them to go to certain places and do certain things. Did you have a gunboat strategy? Was there anything there that we could talk about how you guys conducted your gunboats?
Yeah, so early game to mid game, our gunboat strategy was more on the defense. So
Hmm.
if their gunboats would come towards us, there'd be more for countering that. Late game, when the game maybe gets a bit more messy, or when their gunboats split off, it becomes more of a gunboat hunt for them, and
Yeah,
also just countering any 8 guns or 13 guns, or getting behind them as much as possible.
right. Yeah, and of course, by the end of the battle, you were, I believe, very much more in the Vod Coalition's nearer to their spawn zone. So you guys probably taken a little bit more of the their gunboats had the option to get to you guys faster than your guys did, but nonetheless, you guys kind of seemed to win it. So that was really great. Atticus, any questions for Triangle and his team?
I did have one. What I need to know, once you'd done the first turn and you had the 13 gun in, well, dead to rights is probably the best term for it.
Right, you broke up their fleet, and that 13 gun went all by itself.
What was the thinking in not using your entire fleet against the 13 gun?
Yeah, I mean, looking back that now, hindsight's a beautiful thing. Like,
It is.
probably should have just gone after the 13 there and then. But my idea was, okay, let's split them up even more. Let's go after this fleet, try and chain shot them down if we can, and like split up that fleet even more. My main goal for this was to try and disorganize Loho's fleet as much as possible, which worked at the beginning, but then towards the end we had to regroup and it went a bit skew with. But yeah,
No,
ideally we should have gone after the 13.
What you don't realize is that the Vodkalition love the disorganization.
chaos, yes.
They love it. They love it. They live for it. Warble, same to you. Atticus, is there any more questions you had? You
No,
said you only had one.
no. That was it.
All right, Warble, do you have any follow-up questions or anything for Triangle and for the Bonapartnership?
I'd really only just ask, it's one of my just usual questions, really. How did it go with communications within your fleet? I mean, it looked pretty tight, right? Your formations and everything, but how did it go with communicating with mercenaries? Did everything go all right there? With shot calling, with focusing or not focusing fire? I don't know what you were doing exactly, but I heard from our observers that apparently you managed some coordinated fire early in the game.
Yeah, so communication, we really like to put an emphasis on that, getting cohesion, getting everyone lined up and grouped and shooting at the same targets is what we're after. So for us, it was fairly easy because that's what we practice as much as possible. The mercs, they did great, can't really fault any mercs. But yeah, communication for us was probably the easiest part of that game.
And I'll give another Warble question that he always likes to ask. You have on the second to last battle of the preseason, you're going to be fighting the Sea Wolves, a formidable team if ever there was one. What are you taking from this battle and bringing to that? What are your takeaways from this battle? What are your lessons learned? What are you bringing to training?
Well, probably the first one will be go after any single 13s. And the second one will be don't go as close to the wall.
Yeah, the wall is dangerous. It is somebody's going to lose at the wall. That's and you don't want it to be you. But okay. Well, again, thank you so much. This was a wonderful battle. We really loved watching it. And so we're really thankful to you, Triangle, and the Bonapartnership for providing such an entertaining and exciting battle that went the distance.
What Merc means with it's entertaining is, he got an opportunity to shout at his screen.
I did. That's right. That's right. That's my favorite part. So you're a great team, and we love to watch you battle, and we hope for your success on the next one with lessons learned and that great communication that you guys have. Thank you very much. And we're gonna, of course. Then we're gonna move on to the Vodkalition's victorious Admiral Loho. Loho, congratulations on a victory here. I have all sorts of thoughts about this victory, but I think we all were rooting for you guys to win because we have seen you guys just improve week by week. And what's so great about today's victory is that even though you guys have improved, you have never stopped the tactics that you have done in many of the battles where you love to get in close to enemies, you love to disrupt their formations, and you sort of thrive, like we were joking about earlier, you thrive in the chaos. It seems that you guys don't mind having your fleet explode in 5 different directions and then somehow come together and then have a concentrated attack against the enemy's formation. So, Loho, before we get into all the details, let's start with what you were planning to do as you came in here. What was your game plan? How did that first part of the battle go for you guys?
Okay, hello everybody. So, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you for congratulations and so on. I'm really glad to hear that. Finally, I'm glad that at least once we won in this preseason, not like 5 dry, you know. So yeah,
That's right.
it's a really nice one, yeah. But in general, so the plan was, so we usually have our trainings on Tuesdays with 15 pp, right? So as a
Mhm.
Vodkalition training for an NSL, and we got the idea of this tactic to use exactly on this one. So basically, we have today we've again experienced the upwind direction.
Yep.
So we decided to go exactly upwind in the beginning,
Mhm.
and the plan was that the Bonapartnership will go in the same direction as we do, because otherwise they would go in the like other side of the map, and it would be just um, rotating about the center and doing nothing in the final
And
kind of.
that's exactly what they did. They followed your
Yeah.
plan there, it seems.
We talked about that in
So
the
yeah,
beginning
they
of the
have
podcast.
decided to go to the same position we did, and next the plan was like, if the Bonapartnership continues to move in our direction forward, like along the wall, then we form along the wall, or no, kind of this thing. Or if we turn on the other direction, like along the islands, then we would go along the islands. But in the middle, I decided that going just right and moving the line battle, it's not a good idea here, because we will
Mhm.
not have time to rotate. So I commanded everybody just to go left immediately. So it would be like not a line, but a kind of front moving to the left.
Mhm.
And that actually
Yeah, we
worked
saw
out.
that.
So we made the line to line battle, but the thing is, Bonapartnership got in our back, and I
Yes.
was like in our rear, and I was really frightened about it. I was like, oh
We
no,
saw.
what do we need to do right now? Because the first two 8 guns are bumped in the island. The 13 gun is just shooting anywhere it can. The last 8 guns are also like, oh no, what are we doing now? And so I also commanded so the thing was that the first two 8 guns, they decided to move along the islands, as I said, and the 13 gun just rotated right along the island, and the two last 8 guns, they moved left,
Yes.
making like drawing the attention. So we all continued to fire, just like the whole fleet was firing just the 13 gun on
Apologies, Liam.
Vodkalition throughout all the battles, but we are always focusing the 13 gun.
Yeah.
But well, usually it is the most dangerous one, so we are trying to like at least destabilize it, so it
Yes.
doesn't have so many cannons left. So in general, we decided to move like that, and then it turned out such that the 13 gun almost sunk the last 8 gun. The 13 gun of an enemy already getting their HP low. I was a bit amused of what's going what's going on, because I didn't really think that it will really work out so well. Like I didn't think that it can actually that the two 8 guns could sink the 13 gun of an enemy so effectively. So, and they did it, and like the last 8 guns joined, and it was already a mayhem. And then the other thing struck in, which also frightened me quite much. The 13 gun was left behind in somewhere in the middle of the map,
Yeah,
Yes.
like
that
on
was
the other
scary.
side, and I was like, oh no, so now we have 4 8 guns versus our 3 8 guns,
Yep.
and they're focusing 1 8 gun at the moment, all of them. I was like, oh no, we will lose our whole fleet right now. But one of my captains decided to go along the wall, just past the whole fleet, and it also worked out. And I was like, oh yes, everything is going as nice as I wanted to go.
Well,
And
that's
so,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
and the
so
13 gun just finished
I
the
want to
job.
get in here a little bit because basically by the time their 13 gun sunk, you guys had real command over the situation, right? That was the high mark for you. You sunk that 13 gun. Um, then what happened is your 13 gun kind of drifted off from the battle. So we were all very confused as to why your 13 gun wasn't pursuing all of their 8 guns. I think you had one 8 gun that you were firing at, and then unfortunately it took you for the rest of the battle just to get back to their 8 gun. Now they were retreating, so there's no question about that. That's why it took so long. But what was the end game for you guys? How were you going to guarantee a win? Because it was close at the end. I mean, if either one of you had lost a ship, you wouldn't have been tied in the ships anymore. So what was the thought at the end of that game for you?
In the end game, it was like, okay, we have sunk the 13 gun,
Mm-hmm.
and all of the 8 guns of an enemy decided to retreat in the middle
Yep.
of the map.
Yes, they did.
And the problem is, so while they were retreating, our 8 gun of Captain Regent, it was sunk. It is exactly the 8 gun which made some interesting things in the last battle, which you very much commenting on, when it
Yes.
almost sunk 1 8 gun versus 2 8 guns.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, about this one. And so it was sunk, but it held really nice. And actually, I think that it drew much attention on it.
Yeah.
So basically, it made us available to regroup a bit and make some kind of a half arc, something like this, to fire the last 8 gun. And it worked out. The last 8 gun sunk.
Yep.
And when the 13 gun arrived, like in the back, it started to also, like, it helped well to sunk the last 8 gun. But I was telling the 13 gun and the 8 gun to. I mean, I'm already a bit puzzled about what I'm talking about, but because it's all was quite a mess. But in general,
So yeah, let me ask you: when you're conducting these battles, we all kind of assume that the admiral is sort of in charge of everything. But when you are you on a ship when you're, or are you looking
no, I
over the
don't.
battlefield? You're over the
No,
battlefield.
I don't.
So
I don't.
it's a
I'm
lot about
spectating.
the captains have a lot of decision-making power in your fleet. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Actually, yes.
Yeah. So that is what I've noticed from you guys, and that's how they are able to do these things, like where they'll just charge into an enemy fleet, right? I don't think if you're on the ground, you think, oh, I know what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to just turn my whole fleet and get really close to the enemy. But when each captain is thinking just like I'm my own captain, and Loho is giving us sort of general advice. But it seemed, yeah, that's, I've noticed that about you guys. I think it's got strengths and it's got weaknesses, but it definitely explains the very cavalier playstyle, the very like brave and sort of risky and exciting playstyle that you guys have, where you'll take big risks because these captains are thinking of themselves and their position and less about the fleet position which you're thinking about, but you're sort of advising them. Is that kind of how it ends up being?
Actually, not. I'm exactly telling them the orders to do.
Okay.
But today, for example, the battle was quite laggy for me. So I was like shouting several times for my captains, like, please go somewhere. And then several seconds have gone, and my ships are already in absolutely our position. I was like, okay, so you were doing the thing which I was asking you to do. Okay, maybe. So yeah, but in general, no, we are listening to my orders.
Okay.
I'm only letting them to do something they would like to do if I see that it's a like effective decision or something, or if it's an effective measure to take right now. For example, usually I might give some freedom to my last 8 gun to work because I mean there was just a really experienced captain sitting, so basically he usually does a good thing if I let him think on his own.
Yeah.
But in general, I don't really do it. Because as you said, like, they don't see the whole picture. They see the picture only from their ship. But in the
Right.
process of a battle, I am always asking every ship, like, what's your condition? How many cannons are left? And like, are you being boarded? Like, what's the position for the angle and so on? Kind of supervising.
Gotcha.
So yeah, and maybe I would really point out is that the most nervous part for the battle was exactly when the 8 gun was moving along the wall to the 13 gun. Have you
Yeah.
noticed that which was trying to just run from the 8 guns of an enemy?
Yeah.
Like, basically all of our captains in the captain's quarters voice chat, we were just shouting to him like, please run as fast as you can. And he was like,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah,
That
so
was
it
good.
was a really funny and nervous kind of thing today.
Well, it sounds like you guys are having a lot of fun in that that
Mm,
captain's chat
I
with
would
all of you.
I would say like everybody had, but me, like, on my side, I was just sitting and thinking like, okay, do we do everything right? Do I understand what's going on and so on? Because like all of my captains said like, well, we have sunk 2 ships and one of them is 13 gun, and they have sunk 2 8 guns, so we definitely win. But when I saw how many gunboats they did sink, and I forgot about that they are not really counted in case.
Right.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I do. Right. Yeah, they're
So
not counted towards the victory or defeat. They don't.
yes,
Gunboats don't count.
Yes, and so I wasn't really much thinking about it, and I was like, oh no, we can't win so easy. I mean, not so easy, but not so simple. It should be something, I suppose, more complicated.
Oh God. Oh, you
I
guys.
don't want to say that the Bonapartnership played really easy. No, no, no. It was a really harsh battle, I would say, because of this disbanding of our formation, all this chaos which happened.
Yeah.
But in general, I can conclude that the tactics to force the enemy to go to the wall or to bump in the wall, they
Yeah.
really worked out.
Yeah, I mean,
It
clearly
was a
the
good
wall,
idea.
that wall moment was the moment where everything started going your way.
Yeah.
Warble, do you have any? I want to pass over to Warble. Do you have any questions?
Yeah,
For Loho?
basically the same question again, but this time with it's Vodkalition is a coalition team, right? So you have two different regiments, and you
Okay.
also have a language barrier, right?
Yes.
So and then also today you had relatively low numbers and a lot of mercenaries. So how did communication go with all the mercenaries? And I saw that sometimes you crewed like your whole gunboats completely or rocket boats completely with mercenaries, and you had your flagship, like a lot of mercenaries on the cannons there, even on your carronade. You had a mercenary. So did everything work out there, and how did communications go?
Well, about communication, everything was fine today. Actually, as every time it is, I'm already used to speaking like two different languages in the same time. You know, like translating real life or something like that.
Oh,
Not real life, but what's leave? Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Mine decides also always to leave like when I'm starting the interview. But well, it is what this. So in general, yeah, the communication was like basically I was telling all the orders and all my ideas about the happening in English.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, well, I have some captains who do not speak English very well. Maybe not captains, but maybe not captains, but
Like officers,
um,
yeah.
officers. Yeah, maybe some. Well, crewmen cannot hear me really because I can speak only with captains. So basically, one of my captains speaks only like the Russian language, kinda. So yeah, I'm always repeating the information in both English and Russian. So
Huh.
yeah, but
Oh,
it's not
cool.
a
Yeah,
barrier
that's interesting.
anymore. It's not a
No.
barrier anymore because I got used to. So
Yeah, no, but that's really interesting.
I don't speak Polish, so
Yeah, so
yeah.
they have to repeat to their crew, then they have to translate again, and all have to hope that nothing gets lost in translation, basically. So,
Yeah,
so
but I
it
don't think it will
works.
help really for me.
It works, but there's definitely some friction, and it is a bit of a more complicated thing than just one team made up of one regiment that all speak some language and they all just can talk to each other. So yeah, but I mean, it worked out, and good job. Congrats. Yeah,
Thank
no,
you.
that's
Yeah,
really neat.
well done.
I mean,
And
experience from teaching assistant jobs in university actually makes some
Oh
effort. I
yeah.
suppose.
oh, there you go. Atticus, pass it over to you. Any questions?
Not really. I can't think of it. I mean, the Loho's breakdown of his tactics and his thought process was, yeah, he
All right.
answered any question I could possibly have had for that,
All right.
really.
Well then, we will wrap this up so that we don't go on forever. But I want to say to you, Loho, and please pass on to your team a congratulations from us on your first NSL victory. We were, like I said, we were all really we love the Bonapartes, but we were really hoping that you guys were able to pull a victory out. It was a very interesting victory. The point total was a little bit flip flopped from what you'd think it would be with the victory, and I guess my only last thing for you is the same thing that I asked Triangle earlier, which is what do you think is the number one takeaway from this battle that you want to take into your final battle, which is the last battle of the season?
Oh,
What's your number
that's a
one?
good question. Oh, let me
What did
think
you
about
learn today? What did victory teach you today? You've learned a lot of lessons from defeat. What did victory teach you today?
it. Maybe it thought that going upwind is basically our strength, but I'm not sure.
Okay, well, there you go. There you have it. Well, thank you again to Triangle and Loho Master. Thank you to my co-hosts, Atticus and Warbleworth. We had some great correspondent cameramen. We had Muffin, Safe, Lucius, war crime. I want to thank Gunnar and Killam for helping organize our mercenaries. Always a daunting task. I want to thank all of the mercenaries who participated today. We really needed you today, and you guys showed up in force. We appreciate you. And of course, to all of the competitors themselves who put in a great battle today, and to you, audience at home, thank you so much for tuning in to the Naval Sports League. I have been your host.
And Mark?
And, oh, who else?
The
Mr.
director.
Dr. Professor. Our
Oh
director.
my goodness, I always forget somebody. Dr. Professor, our excellent director who puts it all together, who makes all of the cuts that you see to the different perspectives of the battle that you see. Dr. Professor and Atticus are our two directors, and they are often our unsung heroes who increase and enhance your viewing experience. So yes, thank you very much to let me give his full title. Papa Director Senior Mr. Dr. Professor. Thank you very much, our director today.
I'm
and
sure
again,
that grows every week.
oh yeah, it really does. He throws a new one on.
No,
every
it
week.
doesn't
Anyway,
because he can't fit
because
any
he
more
doesn't have
characters
a
in
character.
there.
Yeah, he's hit the character limit. So, yeah, thank you guys very much for tuning in, and we will see you next week for the Jackals of the Baltic Sea versus the Leviathans. And the Leviathans will not be admiraled by me, but by our co-host here, Atticus. So look forward to me getting to comment, as I love to do, on Atticus, my very own good friend and fellow admiral for the Leviathans. Again, fighting the Jackals of the Baltic Sea. We will see you on the 17th of the month for that battle. And with that, we bid you all a farewell and adieu. Have a great weekend.